Anyway, I got David Coleman on here. As I was talking about earlier on the pre-net, though, we had a train derailment that occurred Tuesday night in Attica, Ohio, though, and I didn't learn about this till very early Wednesday morning, and I thought, oh boy, I'm heading on down there. As soon as the sun started getting up, I was there. A lot of mess there. Hey, what do you think about this, Dave? I speculated though what had happened though. The news, the fake news, is probably not going to tell you though, or they're not going to tell you. But I had a case like this a couple weeks prior to that though. It happened up by Vermilion though. Apparently, a train did go by on the Cleveland line though, and rail did get broken due to the cold. So I'm suspecting the same thing happened in Attica, though, but they did run a train over that broken rail by Vermilion at walking speed, which they can do that just to get the train out of the way so they can fix the track because the train was on the track. Fortunately, they caught that in time, so unfortunately in Attica, though, that didn't happen. So, okay, Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, Mike, appreciate having me back on tonight. I think your assessment is really accurate there. That seems like a lot of these derailments that happened in the wintertime, it happened because of broken rails with the cold temperatures and the extremes, too, and how cold and, how at night it can get even colder, very little sunlight. So there's nothing to really protect these rails. I mean, they're out in the cold, and the problem is, too, these railroads have cut back on their maintenance where they don't have as many people working for them. So if this happens at night and they have a guy, maybe they send a guy out to check the tracks during the day or whatever, it could very easily happen at any time. So, yeah, I think that's a real possibility.
Yeah, when this time of year, though, the rails seem to pull and contract. So, say if you get a severely damaged wheel, you go thump, 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 hitting that rail hard, somewhere along them rails, it's going to break. It's absolutely going to break, though, and cause a problem. And unfortunately, nobody detected a problem like that, and that train happened to have been going over it just a little too fast, maybe, for a broken spot in the rail, because a lot of times you can run a train over a broken rail section, though, but if it's slowly, it can be done. But them trains going through there in Attica, though, I'm not sure exactly the speed, though. I think it's 40 mile an hour, I believe, though, because that approaches the diamonds over there at Attica Junction, Siam, which they have posted 40 mile an hour across the diamond. So I'm guessing that's probably nearly what the speed was of that train, and that was probably way too fast for a broken rail, or a joint may have been broken somewhere. So what do you think of that? I think that's probably the best assessment. I think that's exactly what happened. I still haven't heard anything officially yet, and probably never may hear anything. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what we hear. I would say that that's really what happened. I think, the other thing, too, is these trains are so long and heavy that, any little thing that goes wrong could really cause a huge problem. So, yeah, I've seen 40. I haven't been to Attica Junction in a long time, but I do remember seeing signs there on the approach to the diamonds, and 40 sounds about the right speed there.
It is.
They got very fortunate that CSX, was not blocked, or they didn't have a derailment with them, on their where the train derailed on their side. It could have been a lot worse. Luckily, there are no injuries. It's just there's been a lot of derailments lately. I've heard some stuff like out west on BNSF, and I think the winter time has a lot to do with it as well. And like we've talked about so many times, the cutbacks these companies have had. And there was also another derailment that involved an NS train on the old Boston and Maine line in Massachusetts. It's on the Genesee and Wyoming Railroad called the Berkshire and Eastern. and the train it ends up being NS train 265, but it's like the B101. And I would advise any of the listeners tonight to check it out on YouTube. There's a guy, I think his name is called Isaiah's Trains, is his YouTube page, and he saw the derailment live. He actually saw it live and in person when that train derailed, and like luckily he was far enough away from the tracks so it didn't affect him. But one of the cars came off the tracks and it actually blocked the street he was on. So,
oh, jeez.
Yeah, the track there too, Mike. That old Boston, Maine, Guilford, whatever you call it. Pan Am, and now it's obviously under Genesee and Wyoming and partial. But a lot of that track is owned by CSX as well. Now, that track has been notoriously bad for years. There's videos and jokes that have been made about it's like a 5-mile-an-hour railroad and all this stuff. So my gut instinct is that probably the maintenance and probably the weather had something to do with that one. But, yeah, it just shows if you're near the tracks, you got to be careful, man. You don't want to be too close because these trains, especially the winter time like we're talking about, a derailment can happen at any time.
Absolutely. And coincidentally, though, it happened right next to the car wash where I sometimes go and park there after I go up to the corner and get some Friendship chicken and JoJo fries because they make really good chicken at JoJo. So, and that's the second time that it could have been me parked there. First time we could have been Greenwich, and I almost was there. But something special was coming on Norfolk, and I went up to the lake from New London that day from that incident, though. But wow. I wasn't anywhere near Attica at all, though, that day. I was actually up by, in Huron, starting a video there. Then when I learned of the derailment, well, that video got hauled and got completed today. But all in all, though, nobody was hurt, though. No real property damage to anybody other than damage to railroad equipment. Defect detector was out that day. In fact, the follow-up day and the next day, they did have slow-rolling trains going through there, and they were doing roll-bys, checking the axles and everything as the train went by the area, though, and probably inspecting the track to see what it's doing of the weight of since they freshly laid new track. All in all, I believe there's a total of 20 cars consisted of corn syrup and denatured alcohol. That was it, though, so there wasn't really, as far as any public hazards speak of, though. A little bit of the alcohol did spill out, though. And, there was some grain laying across what was the road crossing area, though, but that's about it.
Yeah, they're really fortunate. Yeah, and I was curious to see when those trains were going to start moving through there again because there was a post on train orders from a guy named E.J. Siding. And I'm pretty sure he's an NS employee. I'm not sure where he's based out of, but he put on there the 29C, which is a train that goes from Charlotte to Chicago, was on the Sandusky District when the 18M derailed. And I guess the 29C went by Marion that night, and then it went east on the Fort Wayne line to Alliance, and then at Alliance by the Amtrak station there, it made a right turn on the Cleveland line, and the power ran around the train, and then they took it west from there up towards Cleveland, and then obviously on the Chicago line into Chicago. So I guess trains 277 and 273 also did the same move, according to this E.J. Siding post here. So great information from him there about the detours and just showing that,
really?
Like you always say, you got to keep America moving. And some of those trains have some really important customers that they deal with and international containers and stuff that comes out of that Rickenbacker Intermodal Yard in Columbus that goes up to Chicago. And that's a lot of that's interchange traffic that goes to the West Coast for the UP and the BNSF. So just shows how important that traffic was to keep it moving. And running it on a line that you never would have thought you would see in intermodal trains. I wonder if there's any video or photos of those intermodal trains on the X-Pensy line that probably hasn't seen intermodal trains since maybe the Conrail era there. So it's been a while.
Really? Okay, I can't think of anything else. 277 did go by the next day after, though. I think it was powered by BNSF, the first train, or maybe the second one on the Part 2 video will be coming up. Let me think. What video came out? I can't think of my days here. It'll be coming up probably Monday, so that'll be Part 2. So there was 2 trains that went by. They were doing the roll-bys on that day, too, but I was in different locations instead of being downtown 224 area, though. So, all right, we've been on here probably going on real close to 10 minutes. We were about 6 minutes on standby before we got on. So anything else you might add? Because I'm going to have Big Daddy Cork on here real shortly, too.
I think we got to, what we're going to talk about there with the derailment, Mike, and I appreciate that, and appreciate any of the listeners I emailed and contacted about, and if you didn't listen, Mike, I'm sure will put a post up on YouTube so you can listen to our discussion about it, and, like you always say, just always be safe and keep an eye around everything. If you see something suspicious with the railroad, make sure you call that 800 number on the crossing, and they'll typically hook you up with one of their customer service agents, and the word will get passed along to the dispatchers and the people out on the railroad, because let's face it, rail fans are a big part of the railroad. They keep an eye on what's going on, and we have more knowledge than the average person. So I think that really helps these railroads when they need it.
Absolutely. Well, at least one thing, I'm always looking for an exit way in case of I got to get out of there fast. So say if I was parked at that car wash the day that derailed, though, usually my car is always running, and I'm sitting in the car, though, and in the wintertime I usually sit inside, though, and film out the window, though, because I can get a, front angle back, though, usually, get a shot, though, and then if I hear something out of the ordinary and I start seeing things looking funny, though, I'm booking. Same thing when I'm standing across, and I always make sure I got a place I can take off like hell, and I can still run. Even though I'm 68 years old, I can still run.
I
can still run.
I hear you there about keeping your car on, but the thing I've done, probably as I've gotten older, is I've just sat further away from the tracks, and that's why some of the spots I go to, like Leetsdale, really enjoy them, because you still can get a good view of the trains, but you're far enough away where if something does happen, probably would not affect you.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's see. I think we've been on here right around 10 minutes, so a little bit over. I think we're about 11. So, okay, Dave, I appreciate you coming on here. I really do, though. And hopefully this don't happen anymore around here, but can't predict when it's ever going to happen either, though. Well, we'll probably hear another one, though, because we got some very, very cold temperatures coming here next week, so.
Sure do. Yep, absolutely. Well, thanks again, Mike, for having me on, and have a good show the rest of the night.
Okay, thank you, Dave. I appreciate you coming on here.
Okay. You got it, man.
All right, take care. All right, that was David Coleman from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, though, giving his input on derailment in Attica, Ohio. Okay, I got Big Daddy Cork coming on.